This is Devin Kraft from the Science Faction Podcast. You're listening to the BS Podcast Network. Enjoy the show.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
They're okay.
Their early work was a little too new wave for my taste. But when Sports came out in '83, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
Hey, Albert,
Yes, Alan?
why are there copies of the style section all over the place? Do you have a dog? A little chow or something?
No, Alan.
Is that a raincoat?
Yes, it is. In '87, Huey released this, 4, their most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Be Square. A song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics. But they should, because it's not just about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends. It's also a personal statement about the band itself. Hey, Paul! Ah!
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is Bond.
Bond.
I'm Batman.
My name is Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond. James Bond.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. The name's Thomas, Brian Thomas, and I am your host. And this is the show where we discuss everything related to James Bond movies. It's great to be back. Well, maybe it's everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. I might be throwing a change-up on you guys, and I might have teased that before. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. Mine is excellent, I am on currently at the time of recording on 4th of July vacation. That's right, 4th of July is finally here, and it's time to take a break, celebrate, spend some time with the family, loved ones, and friends, and just kind of, whether a martini or whiskey is your poison, or if you're like Batman, you don't drink at all, but you will just protect Gotham City, and whatever the cost. But joining me this week, making his big return. See, I can't do this alone. Sometimes you have to call in for some help. Making his big return to Batman vs. Bond is the host of Deezus Take The Reel, the man himself, Deezus. Welcome back, sir. It's great to talk to you again.
Oh, it's so nice to be back in the Bat Cave. I am super pumped to talk all the movies that we're going to be talking today. Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you that haven't listened to the episode, go back and listen to these 2 episodes. I think, when did we record it? February, I want to say?
Yeah, that was a little while back in February. I think we were talking, on mine, we were talking Batman, James Bond movies, and on yours, we were talking, what was that episode? That was a good one, though.
It's been a while, yeah. We haven't really had a chance to catch up, but, Deezus and I have been keeping in touch, and, when I told Deezus this crazy idea I had, it might not be so crazy for him anyway, because he likes to get crazy. But when I told him the idea that I had for this special episode, I think you said you were all in. I can't remember exactly what you said, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm pretty sure whenever you had told me about it, I had just watched one of the movies that we'll get to on the list, and I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect because I need to talk about this now. And I think it's going to be kind of cool. It's an interesting idea.
Yes, to say the least. And so are some of these movies, that's for sure. So, needless to say, Deezus will be sitting with me for the whole show, and we have a lot to talk about. Before we jump into things, just a reminder, BatmanVSBond.com. That's right, you know the name. It doesn't have a number, but go there for all the latest shows and more content. And you can also find the Batman vs. James Bond show on the BS Podcast Network. That's bspodcastnetwork.com. Find my show and a whole bunch of other great shows on there. Now, normally we would go right into news, and then we would go into a commentary, but we're going right into these non-Batman and James Bond films. I haven't even come with the best title for that. I really can't think of one. Favorite non-Batman and non-James Bond films. If somebody can come with another title, please let me know. So
it's kind of a tongue twister.
It really is. I keep trying to say it. It's impossible for me to say. So there's got to be something better out there. But let's start with the James Bond actors, if you don't mind. So let's start with the man himself, Sir Sean Connery. Now, this one was I think this was one of the easier ones for me, Deezus. I want you to start. Are you a fan of Sean Connery, or at least Sean Connery films outside of James Bond?
Okay, well, just as this premise is, we're gonna get off to a weird start. So,
oh no,
I was looking back through Sean Connery's filmography, and he has a bunch of popular movies. Got he's been acting for a good 40 years. But of course, I want to talk about a movie that nobody likes from him.
No.
In theory, this movie is what sent Sean Connery into retirement, and that is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I'm sorry, I'm losing you. Deezus, are you there? What? No, I'm kidding.
Yes, no, I can definitely hear your befuddlement.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I think people don't understand this movie. I think it was this misunderstood because it feels like a comic book when you watch it. Like it really does. I mean, it has these cool visuals to it. It has all these interesting literary characters that you've seen before. Does the plot make sense? No. Do all the characters have good motivations? No. But what does it have? It has Sean Connery, doing his thing. You got an invisible man. You have a villain that's like a Moriarty ripoff with a cool mask, and there are so many explosions and crazy fight scenes. Like, this movie is it's balls to the wall fun, and I don't care how stupid it is. I love this movie. I think it is unjustly not given its due.
Honestly, I have never seen the movie. So sorry. I've never seen it, but I mean, it is the last film that Sean Connery ever did, for better or for worse. And, do you think, because you're the one who's seen it, do you think that Sean Connery, did he show up just for the paycheck, or did he actually, put in a good performance?
He Harrison Forded it. He half and half.
Ooh, okay.
He was phoning it in, but there were some genuine scenes where you got some vintage Sean Connery. And I mean, the movie was a flop, critically and box office wise. It lost a crap ton of money, and then I think it has a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. People were not a fan, but I am.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately for Sean Connery, I mean, this was his last movie, and I think, I don't remember the exact quote, but I always know that he said that he was offered movies like, say, The Matrix or Lord of the Rings to play. Was he offered to play Gandalf? I'm not positive. I would like to say he is. Anyway, but this was kind of the thing that led him to say, well, I don't understand what some of these movies are now, so I'm just going to go with this, and it's one of those things that just led to the end of his, or led him to retire.
I heard he didn't read the script either. I'm pretty sure they sent him the script. I think he just signed on for some reason. He didn't even read it beforehand. It was kind of one of those cases. He was in already.
Well, we always want to see one of our favorite actors, do well. And like you said, for example, for Harrison Ford, there's been, roles that he took with a certain movie that I'm talking about in a minute. Not that movie, but that character where he just kind of felt like he kind of showed up and it's just all right, well, I'll do this, but it's not really, I'm just going to be there, and, it is what it is. Did you have any other movies on the list for Sean Connery before I go into mine?
No, that is the only one I have for Sean Connery.
Okay. I have 3. In no particular order, I would say, actually, I think this was the first Sean Connery movie I ever saw, and it wasn't a James Bond movie, but it was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. One of my personal childhood favorite movies growing up. This is when the time, when the VHS collection of Indiana Jones movies came out. I remember we had to have them. I think actually that was one of the selling points in that. You have to have all of them. And it was one of the trilogies, I guess one of the better trilogies that were out there before it kind of got tainted by that other one. But I will always remember, and Sean Connery wasn't the main actor in there. It was actually Harrison Ford. but I would say that, what was great about it is that you had Sean Connery in a role where he wasn't playing the suave action hero. He was the father figure. And, how his chemistry that he had with Harrison Ford was so well. And I know I've quoted this probably before in the show when he says, "Junior, don't call me Junior." It's so well done. And it's kind of out of his element. It's not one of those that he just showed up. This is one that he definitely put a lot into, and this actually is my favorite Indiana Jones movie too. Not just James Bond is in it, and Indiana Jones in itself is, it was Spielberg and George Lucas's answer to Spielberg's James Bond. Because he decided not to direct it for whatever reason it was. This was James Bond, so it's kind of like you have Sean Connery in a James Bond, but if he were the father figure. So I really enjoyed that. One other one I will definitely mention is The Rock. Now, this is my personal favorite because what would happen if James Bond ended up being captured by the enemy, in this case it was the United States, and he was held prisoner, he was never claimed by the British government. We'll change the name around to a character named John Mason. We'll keep it simple. And, we use this guy who is the only guy to ever break successfully out of Alcatraz in, the prison. And, when a general has kind of gone rogue and, is threatening San Francisco. The answer, well, you get Sean Connery out of prison, a former British intelligence guy, and you help him break into The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Ed Harris in what could be one of Michael Bay's best movies. And no, I'm not talking about the current Transformers movies that are out there. Yeah, this is my personal favorite. I don't know why I do not own this movie. I think that every time I pass the Blu-ray bin or I see it on Blu-ray, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'll buy that on HD release, because that's the way I'm going with my movies now. But this is just, it's really cool because he is kind of playing his James Bond character in a way, but it's more kind of, losers always want about the best. Winners go home. Excuse my language. Fuck the prom queen. And it's so good. It's just Sean Connery. It's an edgier 007, but it still has that, that sense of James Bond in it. So that would be one of my favorite Sean Connery movies. Did you ever see that movie?
I have not. It's on my list because, I was catching up on Nick Cage movies. I just watched Face Off for the first time recently. So I was like, all right, I think I need to watch The Rock next. What I do know is very good, is your Sean Connery impression. It's pretty solid.
Thank you. We aim to please, my dear boy. All right. I was going to mention Entrapment, but for time purposes, let's move on here. Honestly, with Roger Moore, I don't have any favorite James Bond films of his because I haven't seen any. I know that he was in the movie Cannonball Run. And the only thing I've seen from that is the trailer from that. And he's like, "I'm Roger Moore." And that's about all I know. I know that he was in the TV series The Saint. So for the James Bond Roger Moore fans out there, I do apologize, but I have not seen any Sir Roger movies. Deezus, do you have anything?
I do not. We were kind of talking about the difficulty of finding some of these, finding movies for some of these James Bond actors. So I don't have any. My other two are from Bond Girls. So from actresses that were. And so you want me to hit you with one of those?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so one I have is for I Know How Much You Love Eva Green. And she's in a little indie movie called White Bird in a Blizzard. It came out back in 2014. It's currently on Netflix too, so you guys can find this and watch it. It stars Shailene Woodley and Eva Green and Chris Maloney. And it's this weird little indie film. There's this little suburban family. And Eva Green is the mom, and then she vanishes out of nowhere. She just disappears. And so the daughter and the dad are trying to figure out what happened. And then you kind of learn things about their relationship as the movie unfolds, and it goes back and forth between flashbacks and the current present time. And it's just this interesting little indie movie, very stylish, and then it has a crazy ending to it. It's a really interesting movie, but Eva Green puts on this weird performance because in the movie you kind of think that she's hypnotized or something. You think there's something weird going on, it's just, it's the brilliance of Eva Green. She has those crazy eyes, like, for this entire movie. It's a really interesting movie. It's mainly about Shailene Woodley. It's like a coming of age movie as well, but it's a very weird indie movie. So that sounds like something you'd like. It's on Netflix currently.
I'll have to check that out because, yes, I am a huge Eva Green fan. While I haven't seen many of her movies. Now, I will throw this in here for Eva Green. Even though I didn't make a list up, I would say that Sin City, A Dame to Kill For is a great Eva Green movie because her role, you just mentioned her eyes. They literally highlight her eyes in that role. And she's very dark in that movie, I would say. And she's, if you want to see Eva Green going bad, go see that movie. It might not be the best of the Sin City movies, but I would say it's a good, I enjoyed that movie for what it is. I'm trying to think of another Eva Green movie that I've seen. I know that she's got a lot out there. I know that there's a lot of Penny Dreadful fans out there. That's another TV series I've definitely want to explore. One of the writers from the last two James Bond movies, Skyfall and Spectre, and Sam Mendes, the director, produced that. So that's something I definitely want to check out too. What's the other one that you have?
Well, you just mentioned Penny Dreadful, so I kind of cheated a little bit, and it's a Netflix original TV show. And it has Famke Janssen in it. And it's Hemlock Grove. And it's this weird, it's kind of like a Penny Dreadful. It's like in that kind of tone, an American Horror Story tone. But basically you got one boy that's a werewolf. You got one boy that's a vampire. And then Famke Janssen is the mother of the vampire. And you learn all these weird things about their family and the secrets of this town. And they're like the richest family in town as well. So it's like, you got all these paranormal things going on, but then you got all the shadiness going on behind the scenes. And it's best I've seen Famke Janssen in, and it's like one of my favorite things I've seen her in.
Yeah, I've heard of it, and I'll have to add that to my list too of things that I need to get on watching.
You want to talk about getting dark? She gets real dark in this one.
I've seen her dark in one other thing. It was the TV show Nip Tuck when she was on that.
Oh, yeah.
That was an interesting spin. I won't spoil it, even though the show's been out for like over 10, maybe 20 years. I'm dating my age now. Anyway, I would say that Famke Janssen movie or series that I would say is the X-Men movies when she was playing Jean Grey. I liked her as Jean Grey. I really did. Especially her chemistry with Hugh Jackman. I think that, the direction that they went with that role of Jean Grey wasn't exactly the one I would have chosen. Not people would agree with me on that, but yeah, anytime we see Famke Janssen, especially the Bond fans, we always think Xenia on the top. But yeah, she can actually act, and she does a really good job with other roles. So
I love the X-Men movies. You know how much of a big superhero movie nerd I am. I definitely love the X-Men movies. I love her very small supporting role, but my favorite Jean Grey performance of hers is in The Wolverine.
Yes,
a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people didn't know she was be featured in that movie as much as she was, and she's basically a hallucination of Logan this entire time. And it's very interesting. That's when you get to see all the intricacies of the relationship between Jean Grey and Logan, and all the guilt that Logan felt for what he had to do when he had to kill her and all that kind of craziness. But it's a very interesting performance of her being the projection of Logan and this hallucination.
Yeah, that was a really good surprise when I saw the movie because they didn't put that out there at all. So I was kind of hoping when they had Logan, I was like, oh, please have her just do even like a 5-second cameo in there, and they didn't. Maybe they decided to cut that out. I have no idea.
Maybe there's a deleted scene somewhere. That'd be awesome. I was hoping for the same thing in Logan. I really wanted to see just a quick cameo of Famke.
Yeah, and in Days of Future Past, spoiler alert here, I loved when she showed up at the very end of that. That completed the movie for me. I think that was one of the best endings of an X-Men movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's probably my favorite of the X-Men. Well, actually, second favorite. I love her in X-Men 2 as well. X-Men 2 is my favorite X-Men movie, and she has a really interesting arc in that one as well. Yeah, besides the third movie, she's actually pretty solid in all the things they did with her.
She is, yeah. Very talented lady. Let's see here. I don't have anything for George Lazenby. We talked on the pre-show about that. We have nothing. We think that he did one James Bond movie, and that was it. That we never heard from him again. Aside from that Becoming Bond the documentary that just came out that I still need to go watch. Timothy Dalton, I don't have anything for him. Well, let me rephrase that. I've seen one other Timothy Dalton movie, but I did not want to put this on the list. You might have seen this back when we were growing up. Looney Tunes Back in Action. I just said it. I can't believe that.
I didn't really think about it.
Yeah, he had a role in there where he was playing like the father of Brandon Fraser, who was like this, British spy, or he was some kind of a spy, and they made him like James Bond, and it was such a bad movie. It really was. If it wasn't for Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck in there, I would have just stopped the movie halfway in between, but Timothy Dalton was in there, but it's not one I like to talk about. It's not one I like to admit that I watched, but I did. But I will say that the next actor on my James Bond list, Pierce Brosnan, has actually a decent amount of movies of his that I liked. I will let you begin.
Oh, you would like me to go first? I will go with Mars Attacks. He was
why didn't
Professor.
I think of that one? Sorry.
Yeah, he was Professor Kessler in the movie, and you know how much I love Tim Burton. I've always been a big Tim Burton fan, and Mars Attacks is a fun one, and he gets to do something a little bit different as well. Not playing just the smooth, suave, charming guy as much as he usually is, but I mean, still brings that Pierce Brosnan charm, of course. Anyways,
yes, he did. Yeah, after GoldenEye was released, I think this was in 1996 when Mars Attack was, came out, and you had pretty much every actor in there. You had Jack Nicholson as president. You had, oh my God, I'm trying to think. You had Tom. I don't know why Tom Jones just popped in my mind, but he is in there.
He is.
Yeah.
You have Danny DeVito,
yes,
another
Danny DeVito.
actor.
Yes. What's the girl from Sex and the City? She was actually
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, she was the one who got her head put on a dog. That randomly popped in my mind also. But it's just one of those I forgot Tim Burton directed that too. Man, it's just one of those really funny. It's kind of like they answered a spoof of Independence Day. I think that's what I would classify that as. And it's got that weird sense of humor. I enjoyed it. I still do. I haven't watched it in a long time, but one I want to go back and revisit, definitely.
Yeah, I remember I rewatched it not too long ago, a couple of years back, but it definitely holds up. It's very interesting, and it's kind of one of those movies you even forget that Tim Burton made it, and it's kind of like the least Tim Burton-y, but at the same time still has the weird quirkiness to it. Love that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's, oh man, I'm trying to think of other actors in there. Anyway, though, definitely check that out. I don't know why that's not on Netflix, but it's got to be out there somewhere. Maybe check your Best Buy Blu-ray bin. I don't know. Do you have any other ones for Pierce Brosnan?
I do not. That's the one I got.
Okay. I have a few here. One of my favorites is Mrs. Doubtfire. Him in there as Stu. Oh my God, it's so good. How Robin Williams is just how he hits him with the fruit, how he tears off the Mercedes. What's it called? He tears off the front of the Mercedes and then gives it to him, and his expressions in there, and how Robin Williams is kind of playing with him at the restaurant and so forth. It's one of my favorite Robin Williams movies. Also, besides the point though, Pierce Brosnan in there is. You could see where he was just about to become James Bond. He's got the suaveness. He's trying to hit on Sally Field, but he's obviously not out saving the world. But it's definitely one of my favorites of his. Another one is the Thomas Crown Affair. I was watching that in the last week, and this is more of a Pierce kind of playing James Bond, playing Thomas Crown. Now, I never saw the original that had Steve McQueen in it. But him and Rene Russo did a really good job with this movie, and it's directed by the director of Die Hard and Predator, John McTiernan, and it's really, really good. I think it holds up to this point, though, too. It's pretty much about you have one of the richest men in New York, and I forget exactly what kind of company that he owns, but he's willing, for example, to bet $100,000 on a golf shot. He tips over his catamaran because he liked the splash, and he ends up stealing a painting because why not? What else is a rich guy to do? And you have Rene Russo on his tail as like this bounty hunter working for this insurance company. She knows it's him, but she can't find proof. And then there's a love story that goes on in there, and it's a really good movie. It is, and I believe he produced it, as a matter of fact, also. So there's definitely hints of James Bond in there because it was in 1999 and it was the same year as The World Is Not Enough. But I know a lot of James Bond fans are a fan of it also.
Yeah, it's a good movie. You could say that it was kind of inspiration for Wolf of Wall Street. You know, kind of had similar vibes to him a little bit.
You know, I never thought about that. Very true, definitely. It's one that I would say is not outdated. I think, everything from how it's shot and just the material and the script. I think it's one of those movies. It's like not the best movie, but it's a really good Pierce Brosnan movie also. Two other ones I want to mention is Taylor of Panama. If you want to see it's Pierce Brosnan playing a spy, but there's no action in this. What he does is, have you heard of this one before?
I have not.
Okay. So this is early 2000s, I believe it was, and he's working for the British government as a spy, but he has that reputation of, like James Bond, just being like that kind of a womanizer in a way. So he's sent to Panama because they're trying to, I think the U.S. is about to take over the control of the Panama Canal, but he hires this tailor who has all these connections in the town or in the city of Panama, and kind of uses him as a spy. And so it's a spy spying for a spy, which is kind of funny. And it's got some very dark humor, and it's actually got a pretty good script to it. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Jeffrey Rush is the tailor in there, in the Tailor of Panama. So check that one out if you haven't. It's a good Pierce Brosnan movie, but if you really want to see Pierce Brosnan unplugged,
sounds interesting.
Yeah. It is good. I think there's no reason it shouldn't be on Netflix, or it comes on the movie channels every once in a while, like Stars or Showtime, whatever it is. One other one I did want to mention is The November Man. Now, this is the darkest Pierce Brosnan movie I've seen when it comes to him playing action. It's, I think, the direction he wanted to go in with James Bond, but he never had that opportunity. Did you see The November Man?
I did. I did see that movie. Was not a big fan of it. I enjoyed the relationship between him and the guy who he's training, and kind of the way that the movie plays out with that relationship. But besides that, though, it's not like a movie that I would rewatch all too often. But it's all right. It's a decent movie. Yeah, when it comes on, I'm like, you know what, this is on. It's not like the best movie. It's a familiar story, a retired spy who comes out of hiding because of whatever reason, and his protege is working against him, and, secrets and so forth between U.S. and Russia. So, and it's got Olga Kurylenko, who was a former Bond girl, in there also. So it's nothing original, but it is, I like Pierce Brosnan for some reason, maybe because he was the first James Bond I ever watched. So, guilty pleasure anyway. So, let's move on here to Daniel Craig. Do you have another non-favorite James Bond movie of Daniel Craig? You go ahead first. I did not think of a Daniel Craig movie, but I do have some, though. Okay. You go ahead and go first.
The only one I have, I'm not going to mention Tomb Raider because, Tomb Raider, but I would say The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It is, it's a really, really good mystery movie. It's directed by, oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking right now on who the director is. Who directed Gone Girl?
That was the Fincher.
Yes, David Fincher. Thank you.
It was Fincher.
Yes, David Fincher directed this, and this is a very David Fincher movie. If you've seen movies like Gone Girl, Seven, you kind of know what I'm going with this. It's him, and he's not playing James Bond. He's playing the complete opposite of James Bond. He's playing a reporter who's hired by this older gentleman to investigate his missing niece, and there's something going on within the family, and it's got oh my God, who's the other girl that's in this? Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara is actually the girl with the dragon tattoo. one of my favorite roles of hers, even to this day. And, they work, she is like this computer hacker. They work together to try to solve this mystery, and they stumble onto something even more than they bargained for. I don't want to spoil it for any of you who haven't seen the movie, but if you like Daniel Craig, if you like Rooney Mara, and if you like David Fincher, this is a damn good movie. What do you have on?
I have seen. Yeah, I have seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I enjoy that one. I'm a big Rooney Mara fan as well. I kind of wish they would have kept going with it and
I was
finished
really
out
disappointed too. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, but I mean, so I enjoy that one. A fun little one that barely counts, but it does. Some people may not know, but Daniel Craig is a big time Star Wars fan, and
Yes.
asked to cameo in The Force Awakens, as a lot of celebrities do. They asked for these Star Wars cameos, and he is credited as Stormtrooper JB-007.
All right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then another kind of, it's a cheat pick because I haven't seen it yet, but a trailer came out a couple of weeks ago for a movie called Logan Lucky.
Oh yeah.
It's with Adam Driver and Channing Tatum, and I've never seen Daniel Craig like this. He's like all fat looking in this movie, and he's like this weird redneck guy, and they're like doing these crazy heists or whatever, and it just looks something completely different. It looks like Daniel Craig is about to have some fun in this movie. He's like has more of a comedic role, so I'm really excited for this movie to like kind of see him unwind a little bit.
Yeah, because we're all used to like the prim and proper Daniel Craig, and then when this trailer, when they shared the first picture last year for this movie, I'm like, a blonde Daniel Craig, and something about him looks different. And then the trailer was released, and it's directed by Steve Soderbergh, who's directed a lot of great movies such as the Ocean's trilogy. He's done Magic Mike. He's done, I'm trying to think of some other movies I'm sure you know also. Besides the point, it has that Ocean's 11 feel, but it's more southern, and it has Channing Tatum in it. It has actually the guy from The Force Awakens, which is oh my goodness, what's his name? He was in Girls.
Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver's, and those are the two Logan brothers. And they get this guy, Joe, was it Joe Boom, I think it is? Or what?
Joe Bang.
Joe Bang.
Joe Bang is his name.
Yeah. And they get him out of there, and he does an accent you weren't ready for. He's like, I am incarcerated. It just looks, this is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I think it comes out in the fall, or at least early fall, August or September, give or take.
August, I believe.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this, because I want to see him do something different. I loved seeing him in The Force Awakens, because it's like, you know what? He's not, like I said, he's not just like this typical kind of, classy kind of guy. He wants to have fun. And I like knowing that he's doing these kind of roles, something different from a James Bond role. Even if he doesn't return as James Bond, I'm definitely going to go to see this movie.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any more? Do you have any more for any James Bond actors or actresses?
Not really. The majority of the other ones I got a meaty list of Batman actor movies.
Okay. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this movie, American Beauty, directed by Sam Mendes, director of Skyfall and Spectre. Oh, that's one of my favorite movies of his. It really is. Great performances in there, and it's a dark kind of sense of humor in there also, but it's such a great movie. If you're a film fan, definitely check out American Beauty.
Hands down, my favorite Mendes film for sure. It's a fantastic movie. Revisit not too long ago, and it holds up so well. I mean, some of the best shots in cinematography history. Love it.
Mm-hmm. It just in general with Kevin Spacey, one of my favorite performances of his. It would have been great to see him in some kind of a Bond or even Batman movie. And speaking of Batman, let's go right into it. Michael Keaton, let's start with him, because I know that you're a fan of the Burton Batmans. I think you are anyway, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I am a big fan of the Burton Batmans. Batman Returns is probably my favorite Batman movie, but we're talking Michael Keaton, and of course you can't talk Michael Keaton without talking Beetlejuice. I'm sure that's on your list as well.
Top of the list. Yep.
I mean, this is where Keaton's playing. It's an interesting thing because he's playing the title character and the main person, but he only has, I think, it's like only 18 minutes of screen time or something. Yeah. But like literally all 18 of those minutes are just gold that you're getting. Michael Keaton is probably as most charismatic, I think. Mm-hmm. He did something just really incredible with this performance, and through all the makeup and everything. I mean, he was changing his voice. He was hitting all of his one-liners. I mean, he had this perfect comedic timing. It's really, really good. Yeah, and it's one of my favorite Burton movies as well because it's just super crazy and fun and weird.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen Beetlejuice, but it definitely would make the list. But yeah, the more I think about it, you see more of Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis in there than you do of actually Beetlejuice. And there's a lot of memorable scenes in there. The one in there is the dinner scene in there. I love that scene. I'm trying to remember if he was even in. This is one I need to go back and watch because it's been too long. But I think this happened right before Batman 89, and it's probably the reason we had Batman or Michael Keaton as Batman because he was working with Tim Burton and then ended up becoming Batman. So, definitely one to check out. Do you have any more?
I have a couple Keatons actually.
Go for it.
One of my favorite Keaton movies that I still want a sequel to it. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'd love a sequel to it. But he has a scene-stealing performance in The Other Guys as the Captain Gene, and he is so funny in that movie without trying to be. Like, this is perfect Keaton straight man comedy. And it was so good, and I love the ongoing gag. It's one of my favorite ongoing gags in a movie with him quoting TLC and not knowing or like pretending like he doesn't know. He's like, yeah, so I'll creep. And he's like, okay, nobody says creep 3 times in succession and then not quoting TLC, and he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's one of my favorite gags in a comedy. He like steals scenes left and right in that movie.
I honestly have not seen that one, but when I was looking back, because I was trying to figure out, I was like, I know I'm missing some from my list that of Michael Keaton movies, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was in The Other Guys, and I was like, that's the Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg one. I was like, why didn't I ever see that? And I was like, it just kind of slipped through.
It was kind of whenever Keaton was coming back into making movies again. He was making movies before, but they were all these he was doing like a bunch of low budget movies for a long time, and then this was Michael Keaton kind of coming. This was his comeback to Hollywood. That he was making on his way to his Oscar nomination in Birdman, yes. Which his wonderful performance is kind of meta. Because he's was Bruce Wayne in Batman. And so it's kind of meta. He's playing this actor that was known for being in these popular superhero movies, the Birdman series, and it's him trying to reinvent himself. And it's like it was a meta movie in general because that was kind of what Keaton was going through at the time. Like I said, he was kind of in all these bad movies for a little bit, or movies that weren't doing really well. And then Birdman, I mean, he puts on just this powerhouse performance. I mean, it's a really, really good performance. I mean, arguably could have won Best Actor. Eddie Redmayne took it, but she also had a great performance. But Birdman was just, Keaton is back. Like, Keaton is back, and now he's, then he did Spotlight, and then The Founder, he's got Spider-Man coming up. So, like, Keaton is back, and it's awesome.
Yeah, Birdman was just, it was just nice to see because, like you said, let's face it, Michael Keaton has made some doozies. He went through a period, I think, right after Batman Returns. Multiplicity definitely made my list. Did you see Multiplicity?
I have not, actually.
Oh my God, that is one of the funniest Michael Keaton movies I have ever seen.
He's like clones, right?
Yes, it's about clones. He's just like this typical guy. He's like a contractor, and he's married with 2 kids, and he's trying to do everything. He can't get to spend time with his family. He can't get to repairs around the house. He can't do anything. So somehow he stumbles on cloning himself, and then he ends up with 3 other clones. And it's just, you see 3 different sides of Michael Keaton. You see a very, tough kind of guy side of him. You see kind of a more Martha Stewart side of him, and you see just a goofball side of him where he just drinks soda right out of a 2-liter, just stuffs cereal right down his face, just right out of the box, that kind of a deal, and wearing goggles and a boot on his head. That's the kind of humor I'm talking about. And the funny quote from that movie is, nobody sleeps with my wife but me. Because they all kind of trying to play like they're him, but without the wife noticing and without the kids. And if you haven't seen Multiplicity, you're in for a real treat because Michael Keaton can do all these kind of roles. With him as a bad guy, I didn't want to not mention Desperate Measures. That's one that it's a typical 90s action movie in a way, but it's him with Andy Garcia, but he's playing this like really, really bad guy. Andy Garcia's son needs I think it's a bone marrow transplant, and this guy is like the only match, and he's like on death row or he's, maximum incarceration, whatever it is. And, he escapes in the hospital and Andy Garcia has to capture him, but not kill him. And it's a really, really good movie. But Birdman, that is still, most recently, that's one of my favorites of his. When I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, I know exactly what they're going for with this is they're kind of saying, oh, well, what would have happened or why didn't Keaton ever do Batman 3 or Batman 4, and they call it Batman or Birdman 3 and 4. And it just shows you the caliber actor that he is, and he's always been that, but it's just the kind of roles I guess that he was only able to play. The cinematography in there, his co-stars in there, you have Zach Galifianakis in there. Emma Watson? Or Emma Stone.
No, Emma Stone is in that one.
Sorry, wrong Emma. Emma Stone in there as his daughter. It's got some humor in there. I can never forget that scene when he goes out into Times Square in his whitey tighties, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Birdman!" So funny.
It's a great scene.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of greats, and I like how they just have the this, like I said, the cinematography. It feels like it never stops because they just kind of follow him around, or they follow another character around. And there's another one, there's a couple other roles I didn't see of his or completely all the way. It's, he was in Jackie Brown, and that's a Quentin Tarantino movie. And he played like this FBI agent in there, kind of like a tough, but with a sense of humor. But that's just kind of showing you he's always been there, but it's not until more recently in the last 5 years or so that he's really kind of come out with these Oscar-worthy performances. So, this year he's playing a bad guy. He's playing Vulture in the new Spider-Man Homecoming. And I remember that they were saying that he would keep saying that I'm Batman on set. And it's just good to know that he hasn't forgotten his roots, because to me, he will always be Batman. Recently watching Batman Returns and Batman 89, it's like, yeah, he's Batman, and he doesn't forget it, and he can joke around about it, so I like knowing that about him.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, I heard some of the same things about him having a lot of fun with it because, yeah, in the end, he is Batman. Like, I mean, Batman Returns is just it just kills it for me. I grew up on that, so it's like, he was the Batman whenever I was in my younger years, and I'm glad that he still embraces that as well. But I'm glad he's making some really good movies again.
Yeah, me too, because I'm sure that I have not seen The Founder. I want to see that. I saw some of Spotlight, but I remember what I liked what I saw. Honestly, I think I fell asleep on it because it was one of those nights. But I definitely want to go back and revisit it. But Michael Keaton's got a lot of great movies out there, and I encourage everybody to check them out. Do you have any for Val Kilmer?
I mean, we gotta mention Top Gun.
That's really the only one
worth mentioning is Top Gun. The Top Gun sequel has just been announced, Top Gun Maverick, coming out. But Val Kilmer, that's my favorite of him. My favorite performance of Val Kilmer. It's he doesn't really say much. He's just all this presence, and he has just this look. He has the coolest call name in Iceman, and of course the just homoerotic vibes between him and Maverick throughout this entire film is, he's just very entertaining in this film because, he doesn't have to do much. It's just all presence, and he's just, it just adds to, the Top Gun is its own thing. It's a treasure, I swear. I don't know how to best describe Top Gun, but it's just one of those movies that I absolutely love to death.
I love everything about Top Gun. You know, of course, I'm a Tom Cruise fan. If I haven't ever admitted on this show, I am a Tom Cruise fan. I don't love every single one of his movies, but when he does a good movie, he really does. Him and Val Kilmer in this. You have Anthony Edwards. Everything from the score. The plane chases or the plane fight sequences in this. It's just, I don't know. Some people could call it a guilty pleasure, and I know it wasn't like highly rated. I know like critics really didn't care for it even to this day, but I know that it has such a cult following, and it was a big blockbuster. Val Kilmer, anytime somebody thinks Val Kilmer, they think of Iceman, and the movie came out in the mid 80s, and here we are, and we're still talking about this because it's just something about that movie. And that's right, he is dangerous, Iceman. And something about Val Kilmer. Now, Val Kilmer is one of those actors that, he's done some movies, maybe not so many good ones. One that I would mention is Heat. I don't know if that made your list or not. He co-starred in that with Al Pacino and with Robert De Niro, and it's a Michael Mann film. And I know I wanted to see it at the time because I was like, hey, the guy who just played Batman's going to be in this movie. I was like, I want to see what he has to offer. I was like, oh, he's the bad guy. He's got a ponytail in here. I was like, okay, let's see. And I was like, but I like this. I like this movie a lot. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's a really, really good movie. It's a really good action movie. It's got some great performances in there. It's a long movie. I think it was almost 3 hours. I remember it was when they came out to rent at Blockbuster, it was 2 VHS movies combined in one. I was like, wow, we're in for a long night here. But, other than that, I have the only other Val Kilmer role I've ever really enjoyed is him on Entourage, and he was a weed dealer in there.
Yeah, which is really funny. I've never been the biggest fan of Val Kilmer. I mean, I didn't even like his turn in Batman Forever. You know how much I love Batman Forever, but he is easily my least favorite part in it. So I've never really cared for him all too much. But recently I was watching this little indie film. It's called Song to Song. It's Terrence Malick's latest film. Mm-hmm. And it has this large ensemble cast, Michael Fassbender, Gosling, and Rooney Mara, we mentioned earlier. But Val Kilmer makes an unexpected cameo in this movie. So the movie takes place at Austin City Limits at the music festival. And Val Kilmer plays a lead singer of this rock band. And he's like super crazy, and he just like gets like super drunk, and it's like showing his performance, and like he's just all drunk and drugged up, and like gets like kicked off the stage of his own performance. And he's like good friends with Fassbender's character, who is like the sketchy music producer. It was so weird. Val Kilmer, he's gotten kind of husky now.
Yeah.
His hair's all long. I don't know if you've followed Val Kilmer on Twitter, but if you haven't, you should, because the guy, he's off the deep end. Like, he says the most ridiculous things on Twitter. It's so funny.
Oh no, I think that's one I need to go back and follow. I honestly, I didn't know he was on Twitter, so this is something I have to do, because we all know you and I love Twitter. Yeah, you love Twitter more than I do, I think, if that's possible.
He's on Twitter, all right, and it's a good follow.
I can't imagine. Yeah, Val Kilmer. I would say this about Batman Forever. Yeah, that's probably why it's my least favorite Batman movie. Because of Val Kilmer, because I did not like his performance as Batman. The more I go back and watch it, it's just, this guy played Batman. I was like, how? He can't even be Bruce Wayne. It's so disappointing. It really is.
It's okay. Did I tell you I can't remember if on the last time I was on the show, did I tell you my theory about it?
No.
That I don't think Val Kilmer is playing Bruce Wayne he's playing Batman in the movie, but he's not playing Bruce Wayne. I have this weird theory that in that movie, it's in like this, like, because it's so different than the Gotham City from Batman Returns in '89. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this is in some other weird Batman reality, the Schumacher world. And I was like, that's not Bruce Wayne. Like, that is some guy who thinks he's Bruce Wayne, because he is not charming at all. He is not very good with Nicole Kidman at all. He is. I was just like, this guy is not Bruce Wayne. He may be Batman, but this is not Bruce Wayne. So I don't know, it's a funny theory that I have, and every time I watch it, I find something else to like connect my ridiculous web of theories.
I could definitely see that because, I always make the comparisons between, obviously, Batman and James Bond, and Bruce Wayne has those, I guess, how would I say it, womanizer skills of James Bond. And when it comes to the beautiful, gorgeous Nicole Kidman has more features of Bruce Wayne than Val Kilmer does. And it's kind of sad. It really is. And, she's the one who's trying to seduce him. And he's just like, It's like, really? You just kill. I mean, it wasn't so much, just the script, but it's his performance. It takes me out of it. So, yeah, definitely hear you on that one. Can't wait to see what this next Batman actor, and even though a lot would consider his Batman movie the worst of all the Batmans, which I don't, I think he's one of the saving graces of it. Mr. George Clooney, what do you have on your list?
For George Clooney, so obviously the Ocean movies are up there. I'm a big heist movie guy. But one movie that I will mention is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is my favorite George Clooney movie. It is fantastic, Coen Brothers movie. And it's one of my favorite movies of him. He gets to sing a little bit. It's, I believe, the first collaboration he did with the Coen Brothers. But you got him, you got John Turturro, you got Tim Blake Nelson in it. They have this fantastic chemistry. They're getting chased by John Goodman, one of his fantastic supporting performances as well. But this movie is just really good. It's George Clooney at perhaps his funniest. And like I said, he gets to sing a little bit, but he has a really good the cast ensemble chemistry together is just so good in this movie. It's I'm not a big Coen Brothers movie, but it's one of my higher up ones.
I have never seen that movie. I know that it's one that I probably should. And yeah, with the Coen Brothers, I've never been, always anxious to go see any of their movies. They always seem like they're you have to have a specific taste for movies, I think, when it comes to theirs. I could be wrong, but yeah, because it's George Clooney, I will definitely check that out. I had quite a few on my list, but I'll run them down super quick. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
That's probably one of his, right after ER, I would say that would probably be the one saying, hey, this guy might be actually, an A-lister in the making. And I don't know, something about that movie. Maybe it's with him and Quentin Tarantino. Maybe it's his line, okay, everybody be cool. You be cool. Selma Hayek in good. There. It's, and then what it ends up being, but it's just, it could be guilty pleasure. I know I enjoy it. So, definitely one to check out. This one's with Catwoman, or an actress who played Catwoman. It's Batman meets Catwoman, but exactly the opposite one fine day. It's your typical 90s chick flick. But I just remember enjoying this movie. I don't know how well it holds up, but it's just, these two parents, and they have two kids in the same school, same grade, and they end up doing favors for each other. No, not those kind of favors, you dirty birdies out there. Just like helping each other out with their kids, watching them and so forth. And it's got some really good chemistry in there. I actually wouldn't mind seeing if they had Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman come back and Michael Keaton couldn't come back. I would have liked to seen a Burton Batman with Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer. The Peacemaker made my list. That's also got another Batman girl in there with him and Nicole Kidman. It's an action movie. It's Mimi Leader, I believe, is the director of that. She directed Deep Impact, and it's produced by Spielberg. It's just pretty much trying to track down a nuclear weapon that ends up in New York City. I enjoy it. Out of Sight, that's an underrated one of his, I believe, also by Steve Soderbergh, who directed the Ocean's movies, and the upcoming one, Lucky Logan, or Logan, was it Logan? Logan Lucky, yeah.
Logan Lucky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Sight is a really good movie with him and Jennifer Lopez, of all people, who I wouldn't consider like a good actress, but somehow these two had that chemistry in there. The escaped convict and the U.S. Marshal, and she wants to catch him, but at the same time she's falling in love with him. So that's a good one. If you want to see Clooney be like James Bond, but not, it's called The American, and it was it wasn't a hit movie. It's not a big action movie. It's a spy. He's a spy. But he goes kind of into, I think he's in Italy. He kind of goes into hiding after a mission kind of goes bad. And, he's asked to do one more kind of mission, one more thing for the government, and he's having problems with trusting people, and it's a really interesting character story. It's a very serious movie, but it's not your typical spy movie, so I would say check that out. And the last one I would say is The Descendants. Now, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I remember really enjoying it, if that makes any sense. It's not typical George Clooney being all Mr. Suave and sophisticated. It's like the complete opposite of him. He's kind of out of shape. He's kind of let his hair go, and he's out of style and so forth. But I think it's because his wife just died, and him and his two daughters end up moving to Hawaii, or they live in Hawaii, and it kind of the relationship that they go on with that. It's really great acting. So I would say check those out. I know I'm sorry I had a long list with him. I forewarned you. It was going to be a couple actors on this list.
No, you're good. I'm not the biggest Clooney fan. I also just haven't seen a whole lot of his movies, but a fun one that I'll throw out there is I love the Spy Kids movies, and he has his little part in there. Basically, they just use him for his voice. He's like he plays Devlin, who is like the big boss, and they like have him like blacked out, and all you can see is his silhouette, but it's it's his voice, and it's really funny. And then like you only see him like twice like throughout these entire movies whenever he like sits into the light, but he's like always like shadowed out. It's super funny.
Yeah, I have just something about George Clooney. I think that I don't like all his movie roles, but I think that when he has a good performance, I really enjoy it. But I think that under way different circumstances, had he been Batman with a different writer and director and a different Warner Brothers studio, I think that he could have made a great Batman. I still do. I think that he has all the traits of Bruce Wayne at least.
I think it's interesting because it's like I don't really like his Batman. The fight choreography though didn't really help him very much, or the obvious stunt doubles either. But he played an interesting Bruce Wayne. That's Batman Robin is probably the most Bruce Wayne we see in a Batman movie when you think about it, and he plays it very interestingly. But
yeah, it was never a question of the Bruce Wayne. I mean, he definitely played Bruce Wayne way better than Val Kilmer. And that's, no doubt about that. It's just that the Batman role and just, the time, the era of the Batman movies, just where it was at. It's just that he was an actor. And I mentioned this in a previous episode that, he was just up and coming. They got him at a good price because Val Kilmer didn't want to come back. And they're like, oh, well, let's go with this guy because we're giving Arnold all the money. We're giving him $25 million to do this $1 million a day almost. And we'll, this guy, he might do it, and that's what they got. And, needless to say, his career took off after that in a way different direction and for the better, I would say.
Yeah.
So
I can agree there.
Let's go on to one of our favorites. Even though I don't have a lot of favorite movies from this actor, I would say that he's one of my favorite Bruce Wayne actors, Mr. Christian Bale. Do we go with the obvious here, or do you want to go with the not so obvious first?
This has been my most anticipated because, Bale is he's my Batman, but he's also one of my favorite actors because I love Christian Bale so much. So, I got it tattooed on my arm. If you guys follow me on Instagram or have seen me post about it, American Psycho. It's just, it's my number 2 movie of all time. I absolutely love it. It's my single favorite performance of any that I've seen in a movie. I was kind of watching that movie that I was watching, it kind of woke me up as a film buff that I was this is what, a performance looks like. You have him playing Patrick Bateman, this such a layered character. He's a psychopath, but he's a big Wall Street guy, and he's very awkward. All of his friends are fake. They're all crazy. He does not like his girlfriend. He's having an affair. He's a druggie, but he has thoughts about killing people, and then eventually just starts acting on them. And he does some very, very sinister things. It's a very dark and layered role. I love the opening monologue. It's one of the best opening monologues in movie history, I think. Actually, I did a little parody of it on a podcast recently. We were doing ASMR movie monologues, And I chose his opening monologue from American Psycho, and it's super funny. But I just love this movie so much. I've watched it I don't know how many times. It kind of encapsulates like all of my film, like the things I love in movies. Like if I had to pick a movie to be like, here's what my movie taste looks like, I would show them that movie.
Yeah, American Psycho is one of those that I guess I was late to. I never saw it in theaters, and it's one of those that I knew enough like clips or quotes from it and so forth, like ones that have been highlighted on like other radio shows that I've listened to before. And I'm like, why haven't I checked out this movie? So I finally did, like however many years ago, probably I guess about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm like, this movie is incredible. It really is. The performance from Christian Bale is that good. You can definitely see elements of his, or at least in, I would say more of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, of Patrick Bateman influencing on his Bruce Wayne. And I like that a lot.
It's kind of the duality between the roles. You know, Patrick Bateman kind of had these two sides to him, and then, you know, it kind of that's how he kind of did the duality of Batman and Bruce Wayne, I'd say.
Right. And I still want to know why no one has gotten to this video of making a video of Batman driving in the Tumbler listening to Huey Lewis or Phil Collins. I still am waiting on that. I'm just saying it hasn't come yet, but maybe one day.
Right. And we also got which you know, you got a lot of big names in this movie, but of course you got Jared Leto from Suicide Squad, and it would have been interesting. I'm fine with Ben Affleck's Batman, but man, I would have loved to have seen Christian Bale's Batman go against Jared Leto's Joker, which obviously wouldn't make sense. But I think it would be just such a weird, interesting dynamic between the two of them. I mean, yeah, nothing against Bale versus Ledger, because obviously that's fantastic, but would have been interesting. So it's kind of funny, you know, when you go back and watch that movie, it's like, hey, look at Batman killing the Joker with an axe.
Yeah, who would have thought that?
Role reversal.
It's such a dark scene, but why is it that I can go on YouTube and anytime I hear Hip to Be Square, I get a chuckle because I'm thinking of Christian Bale's performance as Patrick Bateman in there. Of course, you know, not so much the axe in there, but yeah, that's anytime, of course, I was already a Huey Lewis and Phil Collins fan, so anytime I now think of Phil Collins, you know, I just think, don't just stare at it, eat it. It's so cool.
I mean, I quote this movie endlessly. Like, I mean, I have to return some videotapes as my excuse for everything. I mean, you know, I quote this movie so much. You saw on my Instagram, I did a shot recreation of Christian Bale with the blood on his face.
Yes.
I mean, awesome. I love everything about this movie. The music, his line delivery, that moonwalk scene was totally improvised. Like, that was 100% Bale coming up with that. It's just it's such a fun movie. I love it so much.
Yeah, there's no reason why if you are a Christian Bale Batman fan or Bruce Wayne fan, you need to check out American Psycho. It's probably the reason I would say that he landed the Batman role. It has to be at least one of the reasons anyway that he landed the Batman role, and why he never got an Oscar. I mean, was he even nominated for an Oscar for the movie?
No, he wasn't even nominated. He was nominated for a Golden Globe, I think, but no, and I don't get it either. It makes zero sense to me.
I gave up on award shows when they, you know, well, whatever. I'll still watch them anyway, but yeah, definitely one to check out. Do you have any other ones for Christian Bale?
Yeah, so I've always been a big Christian Bale fan, but one movie of his that I had not seen, and it was a big blind spot for me that I just watched about months ago, is The Prestige. I'd been catching up on all the Nolan movies I hadn't seen, which was most of them. And The Prestige, which you also have Michael Caine in there as well as, you know, played Alfred. But man, The Prestige is a cool movie. I love that. I loved it. You know, his dynamic with Hugh Jackman as these two magicians trying to one-up each other, but then every time they one-up each other, something terrible happens. And then, you know, you have this, the way that the story is being told with the nonlinear storytelling, you know, they're kind of cutting back and forth between what's going on, and you're kind of finding out what happened backwards, like through this court case. and it's super interesting because they were partners. They worked together for a bit, and then they split off. And they both play these different types of magicians. You got Hugh Jackman, who was the showman, who was a good magician, but he was more of the performer. And then you had Bale's character, who was the better magician, but he didn't have showmanship. So it was kind of interesting. And but he comes up with the best trick. And then so going into the movie, I knew about one of the twists, the one involving Jackman, but I won't spoil it for you guys.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I'm not going to, but there's some good stuff in this movie. Like, if you're a Nolan fan and you haven't seen The Prestige yet, you are missing out.
I know it just came on Netflix, or it's about to come on Netflix. So
it is on Netflix.
Maybe this weekend I can watch that finally, because I hear it is really, really good.
I knew it was good. I didn't know it was that good. It's right behind Inception for my favorite Nolan movie. I might even like it more, honestly. It's a good one. You have to watch it. And you have to watch it and then tweet me about it, so that way I know, because it's so good.
Yeah, because I love Inception. I'm getting work done around the house, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna listen to something different instead of just typical 80s music. So I turned on the Inception soundtrack, and boy, did I get this house cleaned faster than I thought. And then I keep picturing all the scenes in there. I'm like, wait a minute, I can fly. No, I'm not flying. I'm just going very, very fast, listening to Hans Zimmer's score. Can't wait to see him in concert next month. Yes.
Yes, I'm so jealous. I'm
he's coming about maybe 30 minutes from my house. I'm like, honey, I know you love me, but you really must love me if you're letting me drag you to a Hans Zimmer concert, because that's love right there.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't wait to hear some of the Inception score, and of course, the Dark Knight score, the new Wonder Woman theme. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. Let's go back to Christian Bale. What else is on your list?
Another movie that's on my list, and I don't know if you have any animated movies on your list, but I have one, and it is Howl's Moving Castle. It's a Hayao Miyazaki movie, and Bale lends his voice. He is the main character, plays Howl. And Howl's Moving Castle, he's this eccentric magician who there's a war going on, and both sides want him to be on their side because he's the super talented magician. But he's a pacifist and doesn't want to fight and stuff. So it's him. He has all these different personalities and stuff, all these alter egos. And then he also hires the main character, Sophie, who is a regular woman who gets turned into an old, 80-year-old woman. And she becomes his maid, and they fall in love. And it's a magnificent movie. It's one of my favorite Miyazaki movies. It's gorgeous animation. It's this big spectacle. It's a very dark animated movie, though, as well. It deals with some really dark themes, but it's a very, very good vocal performance from Christian Bale. It's the English dub because the movie is in Japanese originally. But it's a really good role for him, and you never really think of Christian Bale's voice when you think of Christian Bale, but he actually has a very good vocal performance.
I will have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
Oh man, those are definitely my main ones for Christian Bale. I mean, I will definitely give a shout out to I mentioned a Terrence Malick film. He is in a lot of Terrence Malick films. He did Night of Cups. It is from 2015. And it's a very interesting artsy movie. It just tracks this guy. He goes on this odyssey of kind of self-exploration across LA. And you learn all these weird facets to his life as he's kind of detached from society, and that messes with relationships that he has with people. It's very artsy. A lot of Malick fans didn't even like that film, but I enjoyed it a lot. And then you got to throw out The Machinist for the transformation he made, losing. He got down to a dangerous 120 something pounds or 115 pounds, and then he did Batman Begins next. So he put on he went through this unhealthy weight transformation to get bulked up for Batman Begins, and it's insane.
Wow. Yeah, I've always seen pictures from The Machinist, but I've never seen the movie. Like I said, a lot of Christian Bale movies I know I need to see. The Fighter is definitely one I want to see, which I have no
It's a
excuse
good one.
to see. Which finally got him an Oscar. It was the best supporting actor. Technically, I heard he was actually the best actor in there, so he kind of worked away with that one. And he also lost weight for that. And he's one of those actors that can put himself in those kind of roles, and whether it's losing weight, whatever, one I would definitely say to check out. One of my other favorites is American Hustle, which I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah, I have seen that one. That's another really good one. Gave him another Oscar nom.
Yeah.
Good one. I love his performance in The Big Short as well, and gave him another Oscar nomination. I mean, the dude is good. He's one of my favorites. I love me some Christian Bale.
Yeah, I will throw out one guilty pleasure in there. You might have seen this, called Shaft.
Yes, I do love Shaft, and I forget about Christian Bale in that movie, but yeah, I do like me some Shaft.
He was playing the rich kid in there, and he's the one who committed he committed the murder in there, and Samuel L. Jackson is out to get him, and he's just this snotty little bastard, but you've got to love him at the same time too. And every time I go back, I'm like, that was right before Batman. I was like, yeah, I could see him with being Bruce Wayne. Some Bruce Wayne traits in there, but he's definitely an evil little Bruce Wayne in there. It would be if Bruce Wayne would go bad. So yeah, Christian Bale, one of the best actors, I would say, to don him and Keaton would be two of the best actors. But maybe this next actor might end up being the best. It's to be determined. Mr. Ben Affleck. I know I have a few favorites of his. I'll let you go first on this one.
I wasn't a big Ben Affleck fan, like the big early in his career. I remember I'm not even a big Dazed and Confused fan, surprisingly, but I do like what Ben Affleck has been doing the past few years recently, and of course that started what really got me to buy into Ben Affleck was Gone Girl.
Yes.
It's a great performance, but he also, helped write the movie as well. He's a very talented writer. He did win an Oscar for writing for Good Will Hunting. But he is fantastic. Holy crap! Why did I just sidetrack what movie we were talking about? Where I just said Good Will Hunting.
Gone Girl. It's okay.
Gone Girl. Yes. Yeah, it has been. Yeah, this is a long one. But yeah, in Gone Girl, you get this really interesting performance because I think the movie is it's so weird. It feels like you're watching like a soap opera almost. Mm-hmm. And then, you're going back and forth whether you're on his side or not, whether you think he did it, whether you think he didn't. And it's this weird cat and mouse game that you're watching. But I love Gone Girl in general. That freaking score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is just, oh my goodness, it is just mind melting. I love the score for it. It's a great movie. Rosamund Pike knocks it out of the park. You get a really weird performance from Neil Patrick Harris in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed Gone Girl. I didn't see it for the first time until about. I'd say about a year ago is when I watched it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then, and then I already just mentioned Good Will Hunting, so I'll go ahead and bring it up. Even though that I do like the performance from him in it, but like I said, I do just respect his writing for the movie. Because Good Will Hunting, the writing in that movie is phenomenal. You really feel the Boston in that movie, and that comes through from Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and their chemistry together. I love the scene where Ben Affleck's character goes in for the interview that Will's supposed to be at, and
yeah, I remember
it's super fun. He's like trying to he's trying to schmooze the people for him.
Right.
It's super funny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I will say I'm a fan of Dazed and Confused. I remember in college, my friend got me to watch this movie. I'm like, what is this? And then I ended up enjoying it, and I still enjoy it to this day. And one of those reasons is because of Ben Affleck. He has a small co-starring role in there, but he's such a little shit in that role. And it's pretty much like, how to sum up this movie? It's the last day of, it's the last day of school, and that, you know, this crew has just become seniors, and then you have the incoming freshmen and so forth. And it's at the time in the 70s of classic rock music, fast cars, and weed and whatever else. And it's a comedy, but it's got some interesting points in there also. But it is not my favorite Ben Affleck movie. I would say it would come between Gone Girl, The Town, and Argo. And The Town and Argo are ones that he both starred and he directed. And Argo was the one that he he didn't win the Oscar for Best Director, which he was robbed of, and I forget by what movie. But he he won it for Best Picture because he ended up producing it also, along with George Clooney, who has now however many Oscars. So two Batmen worked together to get an Oscar. How about that? The Town.
Interesting.
Yeah, The Town is, you were saying about that element of making you feel like you're in Boston. That's something he did with The Town also. I know he loves Boston. He takes you right into Fenway Park, and the action sequences in that, the performances in there by him and Jeremy Renner, specifically Jeremy Renner. You have John Hamm as an FBI agent who does a great job with that. Argo, I think, does a better job with the acting in there because you have him with Bryan Cranston. You have John Goodman. You have Alan Arkin in there. The famous quote in there is, "Argo, fuck yourself," in there. And, it's really, really good movie. And, if you didn't know the story about what happened with that, it's, I believe, where was it? It's set in, was it Iran at the time in the late 70s? I think it was. And,
I think so.
And the CIA was trying to go in and get these, people who were captured and being held prisoner from the U.S. consulate. And, they're trying to find any way in there, and they don't hire. Ben Affleck's character works for the CIA. I guess he's an op in there or whatever. And they find this ludicrous plan about, using a Star Wars spoof movie and acting like they're going to film this in this country. And so they also bring in some really funny characteristics about Hollywood and how movies are created and how they're made. And a line from that is like, "This is the worst idea we have, sir." And it's really, really good. If you haven't seen Argo, I really encourage everybody to go see that. That would round off my list. Do you have any other ones?
No. I'll give a shout out to Smokin' Aces because he has a small role in that, and that's has this crazy ensemble. I love the cast of that movie. And I think that movie doesn't get its due. The sequel wasn't as good, but Smokin' Aces is a fun, ridiculous action romp, and Ben Affleck has a small role in that as well. So I would shout Smokin' Aces out. I forgot he was in there.
Yeah, great role, or a great movie. He had a small role in there, but it's definitely a fun movie. Him, Ryan Reynolds, Ray Liotta, Alicia Keys is in there.
G.P. Henson,
Jeremy Piven, yeah. Really, really good. And you have the guy who played the mayor from The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises is in there. I forget his name, but definitely want to check out. And if I know we were mentioning mainly actors, but if we're going to mention directors, I would say Nolan. I have to mention Inception on there. I know we did talk about that, but it's so good. And Nolan is just one of those directors. Sam Mendes also, like I said, American Beauty. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but those would be the main ones I would mention. So there's a lot of good roles that these actors, I would say the Batman actors, I guess maybe because we've seen more of their other roles. The James Bond actors, they do. I mean, Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, they definitely have some good roles also.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the great thing about movies, and specifically these actors, is they will always be typecast for these movies. And, for better or for worse, maybe Val Kilmer, maybe not so much Batman, and George Clooney doesn't want to consider himself Batman, and for a legit reason, I understand that. Actors like Michael Keaton, though, they don't forget, like I said, where they came from, when what made them, which was Batman. And with James Bond, I'm sure, Pierce is always thankful for being James Bond. Sean Connery, I would say he's in between on that, but there are some good ones. And yeah, he was walking around New York City a couple weeks ago. He's still there, and he's still looking as suave as ever. super quick here. I want to just put out some birthdays. I'll do rapid fire on this because I think you're a fan of at least a few of these actresses on here. Margot Robbie celebrates a birthday on July 2nd. She played, of course, the infamous Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad. Best part about that movie in my mind was Margot Robbie, and if we're talking movies aside from Batman, go see Wolf of Wall Street. Go watch Wolf of Wall Street because that is a damn good movie. Oh my God.
One of my favorites. I mean, she's fantastic in it. Wolf of Wall Street is an amazing movie.
Yeah, that she is still up and coming, and to think that she's still so young, but still putting out she's being able to act with actors such as Leonardo DiCaprio, and still maybe steal the scene from him, and that's in the classic water scene, I would call it. It's a great scene. Let's see. Andreas Wisniewski, who celebrates a birthday on July 3rd, played Necros in The Living Daylights. Living Daylights is, I'll be doing a whole episode review on that because it celebrates an anniversary next month, so I'll save that, but he did a good job in that as a henchman. Ava Green celebrates a birthday on July 5th, and she played, of course, Vesper Lynn in Casino Royale, my favorite Bond girl. Oh, yeah, Ava Green. I can't get enough of Ava Green.
I know how much you love her. Yeah. She's great. Now, I do love Eva Green. Too.
Yeah, she's just got that. She is, I would say she's underrated, I think. I mean, she's got a lot of followings, especially on social media, but I think that more, I guess, maybe in the United States, maybe not so many people know her as a household name. I think more abroad they do anyway. But they will eventually, I think she will get that one role that everybody knows her for. Even if it is Vesper Lynn in Casino Royale. William Hootkin celebrates a birthday on July 5th, played Lieutenant Eckhart in Batman 1989. Oh yeah, I can't forget him. Eckhart, think about the future. Akivia Goldsmith, for better or worse, the writer of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, celebrates a birthday on July 7th. And Wally Pfister celebrates a birthday on July 8th. Did the cinematography in the Dark Knight trilogy, along with who was helping out with Christopher Nolan. Oh, such good cinematography in there. I believe he's actually working on the TV, or I guess it's TV show reincarnation of The Tick. So definitely happy birthday to him. So looking forward to that. I know I am. So I guess that wraps it up for this episode of the Batman versus James Bond show. I think we got to everything we wanted to. I hope we did. I know that a lot of you out there had your favorites on there. I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to them, but we kind of went over on this episode. But Deezus, once again, thanks for being on the show, man. It's always great to have you. You're always welcome back on the show anytime you want.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I can talk movies for hours, especially when it's some of my favorites. Well, we might have to do part 2 because half of my favorites were from Michael Caine, and we didn't even get to some of those ones. But yeah, it was great talking about like I said, it was kind of like connecting this like little weave of this like web between like what movies they were in, and then kind of interesting like whenever they would cross paths and stuff. So yeah, it was great talking to them.
Yes. We will have to get back to that. There are definitely other directors and other supporting actors that we could talk about. But yeah, we're running out of time. I apologize. Where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me on Twitter at Deezus12. That's where I do my main stuff. I post my reviews and stuff there as well. You can find me writing reviews for geeksandgamers.com, so make sure you check them out. I'm writing a little bit more. And then, of course, Deezus Take The Reel is my podcast I do every Tuesday. It is a kind of a late-night talk show about movies, so check that out. The Twitter for that is at Deezus TT Reel, and you can find it on iTunes and Google Play Music and all the other podcast apps. So definitely check me out.
Very, very good show. He puts out some great content, guys, so definitely check him out and show him some love. Follow me on all the various... Go for it.
Sorry. I forgot. I had one more real quick. And find me over at Core Temp Arts Podcast Network. I host a couple shows for them. I recap iZombie for their podcast, TV Ate My Brain, and then I have a new music podcast coming out soon.
Oh, cool. Looking forward to that. Can't wait to hear
I'm a busy guy.
You sound like... Do you ever sleep?
Not really. 4 hours a night. I'm solid. I'm a vampire.
Man, all right. I want to know what your trick is on that, because I only get 6 hours sleep and I'm dog tired. Oh, I don't know what that is. I can't wait till I have kids, then I'll get no sleep, and then I'll be in the same boat. Follow me on all the various social media networks. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Batman vs. Bond. Find the show at BatmanVSBond.com and on the BS Podcast Network. And hey, don't forget to buy a T-shirt. Like James Bond, I will return Deezus once again. Thank you for coming on the show. Can't wait to have you back on soon.
Thanks for having me again, Brian.
Of course. And until next time, I'm Brian Thomas. Thanks for listening and have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
The preceding podcast is part of the BS Podcast Network. Visit bspodcastnetwork.com for more shows just like this one, and perhaps a few that are just a little bit better.